I'm just waiting for my boyfriend to get off the phone. What do you think of this? I'm switching it up a little bit. I got these little like background lights that change color. You want to see? For some reason, when I hit this one, this little heart, one of them turns, ooh, I kind of like that. One of them turns purple and the other one turns like orange. I don't know why. It's so strange. But yeah, it's kind of fun. That's not bad. I like that actually. Kind of into the split situation though. The purple doesn't work on this. Anyway, yeah, I feel like I just like pop more with like that. All right, I'm just gonna start. So I asked you on my community tab in obviously this channel, some topics that you'd like me to cover because I have a lot that obviously interest me that kind of like hover around all of the subjects that I've covered recently. And I feel like every time I sit down to kind of like talk about them or start thinking about them, they're all over the place because they're all so connected. So anyway, someone said, asked me to speak about weird things that women are societally conditioned to do. So the first, like, I'm no expert on any of these topics that I am discussing on this channel. Obviously, I'm just a person. They're simply things that interest me and I enjoy discussing and I have questions about, and maybe you have questions about, and maybe I have, considered a specific point of view that you haven't, and vice versa. And that's, what I think is interesting about this channel. So obviously when I read this suggestion, I guess it's not really a question, but I immediately started like trying to relate it to my own life, obviously, because that's all I really have to go on. So I was trying to think, well, I mean, obviously there are the ones that we have read about or heard about or have become sort of stereotypes, like things that women are conditioned to do societally, For instance, I don't know, like really obvious basic ones would be like women do the cleaning or women do the cooking or, I don't know, women raise the children or like their focus is to be mothers. I mean, I do feel like that's switched a lot, or not necessarily switched, but it has shifted a bit that like, obviously in the modern world, women are working. Like they're not just, staying home to raise kids, not all of them anyway. So those are like the first things that popped into my head. But then I was thinking like, well, what have I felt societally conditioned to do? And then I started thinking about, well, there are a lot of decisions that people make or societal like influences, I guess, that we don't even notice. So I was trying to like break down what those might be. Because for me, I feel like I've gone against a lot of them. Like for instance, I don't cook, okay? My boyfriend cooks. I do clean. I like cleaning. He's very messy. But he cooks, So I don't do that. He's very loud. His voice really carries. I mean, obviously, if you just look at me, I have a very not so feminine style, I guess. My clothing style is a little bit more like, I don't know, unisex sort of. I don't really like I've sort of opened up a little bit more to like more feminine things, pink and such. But for the most part, my style is very like, I don't know, a little bit more like edgy, I guess you could call it, a little bit more unisex. Obviously I have short hair. I never felt pressured to have long hair. Long hair never looked good on me. That was like, my hair is very fine. It's like baby hair fine, and it's very straight. So the longer I grow it, the like more limp it becomes, and it's not even thick enough to like put extensions in. So that was never anything that I like. My hair's pretty much always been short. I never felt like, oh, to be a girl or to be feminine, I need to have long hair. It was the opposite. It was like, well, short hair looks good on me, so I don't feel any less feminine having short hair because it suits me. It suits my bone structure. It suits my actual hair. It suits my personality, So that's something, because someone asked me that recently on one of my beauty channel Q&As. Like, did I feel this backlash or pressure to have long hair? And how did I like break free of that to cut my hair? And I was like, I didn't. It was just like, I don't know. I just liked it. And that's kind of how I have always felt about it. Same thing with fashion. There are definitely certain things that like I think just don't suit me or I don't feel comfortable in them. That I've been like, oh, other people wear them and they look good in them. And maybe it's like attributed more with feminine style. Like there are plenty of outfits that are very like revealing that I just don't think suit me, you know? That's all very like superficial though and surface level, obviously, because I'm talking a lot about appearance. But those were, I guess, the first things that popped into my head because I didn't really feel like I fit into those molds. Or like what we would consider to be those molds, like the stereotypical like female, or even the way the stereotypical female speaks. Stereotypical being, you know, a key word there. I'm reading this book. I had started it. I'm such a slow reader. By a friend of mine who I haven't seen in a very long time, but I still consider her a friend. We met on a brand trip for BH Cosmetics. Her name is Amanda Montel, and she wrote a book called Word Slut. But it's basically about gender and language. And it discusses sort of the evolution of like female, well, I mean, it goes, you know, it speaks about both male and female gendered words and phrases and meanings and how they've evolved and how women speak and how men speak and how that's evolved. And it's absolutely fascinating. I highly recommend it. I'll link it down below. But that is something that has made me really like recognize a lot of things that you don't necessarily. Basically, if you're interested in this subject, I highly recommend the book. It's very well written. And she's a very funny, interesting writer. It's a quick read, even if you're very slow at reading like I am. So I started thinking about this because I was like, I don't know exactly. A lot of these things are kind of just like programmed into us without us really knowing as we're growing up and as we're being, you know, exposed to them, I guess. I guess my question to you would be, what do you feel you've been societally programmed to do? Like, I'm just trying to think of the obvious ones. I never felt like I wasn't going to work. I was always going to work. But it felt like less of a job and more like I need to create. I need to like create something for myself. I don't know. I'm curious how many females out there are like still in sort of and like no judgment. I know people who like, you know, are just interested in like having a family and being a mother and that they want that to be their main job and they want to like get married and like have their husband be the worker in the family. That's totally fine. I mean, that's a fucking, like, that's up to the relationship, right? Like, that's your decision to make. And obviously kids are more than a full-time job. And although I definitely, like, want to have a family, I don't ever feel like I won't be working, you know? Obviously, I have a lot more control over my job and what I'm doing because I'm self-employed and I do this stuff from home. Another thing is sort of like, and I actually saw this in other comments, talking about like pressures, specific pressures, and one of them I think that's typical for most women. One person commented this and they were asking about like, I think it was mostly about like relationship pressures. Like she was saying, I can't remember how old she is or what, but oh, here it is. How society has expectations for all of us, specifically couples in their late 20s and 30s, to get married and have kids. And she goes on to say that she's 33, has been in a relationship for 5 years, and isn't interested in getting married or having kids, which obviously is her decision. But yeah, and then I started thinking a little bit more about like Desi Perkins' experience with infertility, because obviously she had been with Stephen for such a long time, married, and people were constantly bothering her and saying like, when are you guys gonna have kids? When are you gonna have kids? When are you gonna have kids? Not knowing for the longest time what she was dealing with. And it is true that like, I don't know if it's necessarily comes from like a negative or pushy kind of place, but it is very much this like expectation that like, oh, okay, well, once two people have been together for a specific amount of time, obviously they're gonna get married at some point. A lot of people don't choose to do that. Because for a lot of people, it doesn't mean anything. Like that maybe they're not, I don't know, it's like a piece of paper. And maybe if you're religious, it has like religious connotations. But, you know, for a lot of people, it doesn't. And they just don't see a difference. But even when those two people get married, then everyone is like, okay, well, when are you having kids? And you have no idea what people's like lives are like and how that's like such a personal question. And I remember specifically early on that like Desi was begging people to be like, stop asking women like when they're gonna have kids, because you have no idea like what their physical, mental health is like, and you don't know what that question brings up, which I think is a very fair point. Because it is kind of ridiculous to have someone be constantly like bombarding you about that thing. I personally don't have any of those pressures in my life from family or anything, because I'm 30 and that feels old. But yeah, I don't have anybody in my life being like, when are you getting married and when are you having kids? You know, which is very nice, because I know there are a lot of families who definitely bug their kids about that stuff. That's another one that I obviously had considered. I kind of feel like with this topic of societal pressures or influences, I'm kind of a hipster about those kinds of things. So whatever the typical thing is, I don't want to do it. I'm just like kind of a natural contrarian in that way. It's like, oh, everybody likes this movie, I don't want to watch it. You know, that's why I didn't watch Game of Thrones for a really long time. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm curious what they are for you. I definitely think that, like, I don't know, societal, not necessarily societal, maybe media. I guess they go kind of like, I mean, they're intertwined, but what we see in the media, I definitely felt pressure to look a certain way for a while. Yeah, just like looking at models. I always wanted to have like a tall, very super, like lean supermodel figure. Obviously, like who doesn't? You know what I mean? You just like see that plastered all over magazines or whatever, and they always just look good in clothes because they're basically just like clothing hangers. And I always wanted that, and it was like so unrealistic. I'm 5'2", like I'm this big. I have like a very medium build. I'm never going to be one of those like people who I don't know, Forever 21 pants are made of. Or did they go out of business? Didn't they like go bankrupt? Fuck them anyway. But yeah, I definitely remember like growing up and feeling those things from like looking at magazines or watching TV. And I would say up until very recently, considering like a lot of the things that I've spoken about on this channel, I felt a lot of pressure for like have my face look a certain way. Like considering, obviously I got under eye filler, considering things like lip filler and Botox and all those kinds of things. So from like a female perspective, I guess that is a lot of it. I don't know. I'm trying to like get more into detail about it. Like weird things women are societally conditioned to do. And I know there are a lot of things generally and very broad, you know? Like for instance, in Amanda's book, she talks about like the way that women communicate, and it tends to be a little bit more apologetic. Like there's a very sort of, I don't want to say submissive, but it's a little more people-pleasy and accommodating in typical like female language. It's a little more like less dominant. So I guess that's one. I would highly recommend that book. It is so interesting. I'm really enjoying it. I haven't picked it back up in a couple weeks, but it's really, really, really interesting. I've been literally like highlighting pages because it's fascinating. There's so much information, but it's not like too information heavy, you know? And I actually have a video that I wanted to talk about. I think it was specifically about female communication, but I want that to be like a separate video. But yeah, the reason that I chose this topic is because it was the most liked one. Let me read some of the comments underneath it. Sarah said, like, what do we do for ourselves because it makes us feel more in our feminine power? And what are conditioned ways we take care of ourselves or behave even though we really don't want to have to do it? Where do we draw the line, and how do we even know where it is? So this is interesting. What do we do for ourselves because it makes us feel more in our feminine power? So I'm having a little bit of a hard time interpreting this, but what it makes me think of right now is, like, I remember having conversations with certain people about, like, me wearing makeup and why I wear makeup. Short answer, I like it. When I don't want to wear it, I don't wear it. I don't film these videos with any makeup on, and I put them on the internet for people to see. When I go run errands, I'm not wearing makeup. Not that I go anywhere right now. But when I want to, like, I will do a full beat, okay? If I want to wear freaking, I don't know, full on nose contour, jaw contour, like cut cheekbones, tons of powder, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. Black smoky eye, okay? I don't really give a fuck who likes it. So I don't agree with the argument that, like, women wear makeup to be more attractive to men. I don't agree with that. Most guys prefer very natural looks. Like, I know my boyfriend's favorite makeup is when I just, like, have very little on. Like, it's just, like, little natural enhancements. I still look like myself, but just, like, you know, little bits of whatever here and there. So I'm not wearing a full beat and a black smoky eye to impress him. That's not what I'm doing. It's because I fucking want to wear it. But then on the other hand, there are people who, because there was a certain time in my life when I felt, like, uncomfortable without it, not confident in this face and having people see it without makeup. But that's pretty much always, it's never had anything to do with, like, attracting guys. It's always been more just about insecurity in general and, like, what the world is perceiving, I think. I don't know, I really hate that argument, though, that, like, women wear certain things for men. Because I think a lot of men think that, that, like, girls wear certain things or wear makeup for them, like, to attract them. I've definitely heard that argument a lot. And it's like, nah, dude, nah. In fact, if I think about it, when I'm hanging out with my boyfriend and his friends, like a bunch of guy friends, I'm definitely, like, way more chill about, like, I'll wear a little bit of makeup if we're, like, going out. It's usually really natural, and I don't give a fuck about what I'm wearing. I'll be comfortable. Like, I don't care. If I want to dress up, I will. If I want to wear heels, I will. But, like, it doesn't matter to me. If we're going to be hanging out with their like, girls, then, like, I'll go in a little bit more on my makeup. It's, like, impressing. It's, like, for us. Like, we're doing it for us, you know? Like, I don't know. That's how I feel about it. I don't know about you. Like, do you find that you get more dressed up or want to wear more makeup when there are other girls around? Or guys? Because I definitely am the opposite. I mean, the first one? Yeah. Tammy said the pressure to get married, have kids, and have a certain job. For example, art and anything creative was in some way frowned upon. It wasn't sustainable work in some of my family's opinion, and it affected the way, I don't know why this is a thing. It's so crazy to me that, like, families still are like, you need to go to school to become a doctor. And that's way better than, like, becoming some kind of an artist. It's still looked at, like, creative things are still looked at as, like, there's no certainty. But it's like, dude, considering everything that's been going on in the world, nothing is certain ever. Why would you ever pursue something that you don't enjoy just because you think that you're going to be getting a steady paycheck? Because that can get fucked up. So yeah, I definitely think that it's definitely, like, the top things seem to be getting married, having kids. I can't relate to the certain job because, I mean, I sort of can a little bit. Both my parents are artists, so it wasn't like I wasn't going to be a doctor. My dad definitely, like, tried to push me to be a nurse at one point out of just sheer terror that I was going to struggle, because obviously people in creative fields, it's not like, there's a reason that people worry about it. It is very up and down. And their careers were very up and down. They had a lot of highs and lows. So, you know, you obviously, like, worry. You don't want your kids to struggle. So for a short time, he was like, please just be a nurse. I was like, dude, you knew that was never going to happen. But yeah, it's just, it is strange to me, though, that that people are still so against creative fields when, especially in today's world where you have so much more control over it with social media and technology and the internet and all that, to create your own thing. I mean, that's what this is, you know? She says she works in IT now, which sure is great in ways, but I'm there for all the wrong reasons, trying to make my family proud. Yeah, I always think, fuck that. Like, you have one chance at this life, dude. Do whatever. Do what you want to do. Why wouldn't you? I definitely think one of the biggest problems is, like, she's like, the original question was societal, what women are societally conditioned to do. But a lot of the comments that are under this, and then also other comments, there's a lot that come from like family pressures or just like the people in your circle, which is strange to me. That people would feel so strongly that you have to do a certain thing. I do not understand that, and I'm very lucky that I don't have parents who are like, you have to do this thing. You know? Fucking terrible. Joni says being polite and forgiving just to make everyone else feel comfortable. I definitely think this one I'm on the fence about. I definitely think, just especially from the book that I've been reading by Amanda, like I said, that a lot of like communication between women is much more like understanding and forgiving. Obviously, this is very general. Not all women are like that. In fact, I would say that I am not a people pleaser now. But when it comes to conversation, I definitely tend to be a little bit more pulled back, I guess, and sort of more accommodating. And I definitely did this to a fault when I was younger, where I was constantly trying to accommodate the other person or people involved. And so I would inconvenience myself, because I would rather inconvenience myself than disrupt other people's things. I did that a lot growing up. But I don't think that that's necessarily just a female thing. I think, because I know my brother did the same thing. We're just very agreeable people. So it has like a lot to do with personality as well. So again, I don't know. I can't really say that that's like a specifically gendered thing, but I would like to hear from you if you have noticed that, you know? I think my upbringing and who my parents are and my family life in general wasn't typical, I guess. So I have a very different perspective. And then very quickly, before I go, I had a few people asking me about Girl Code, which I was not aware of. I don't know if it's a show or a movie. I looked it up. I haven't seen it. But a lot of people were asking me, this person in particular said, I think Girl Code is a front for making others responsible for your own feelings and reactions and not a healthy concept. I want to hear your take. So I don't know what it is. I would love to discuss that, but I would be interested in hearing like some of your questions or comments first, since it seems, since we're just kind of on like a female topic right now, before I go into that more. Like I could make that a thing, but do I have to watch it? It sounds like I have to watch it. Is it a show? I'm going to check it out. So anyway, that's my experience. Those were my thoughts on it. I feel like, I know I realize this was kind of a long video, but I don't really have that much. I don't know if this person was expecting a different like take or answer. I don't know. It's all how I interpret it. I would be very interested to know what your personal experiences have been or how you feel about this statement. Just to reiterate, she said weird things women are societally conditioned to do. So I don't know if it's something that you've recognized in yourself or other people, or like, I don't know, just generally around what you've noticed from like the media. And when I say media, I mean everything, just anything that's like media, internet, magazines, movie culture, music, whatever. I think it's interesting. So maybe we can like keep this one going. Maybe I'll do like a follow-up. I'll pick like some of your comments and we can kind of like keep this one going. I don't know. I don't know if any of that made sense. Okay. Great talk.